And I think, though, we can mourn the queen and not the empire.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about what the monarchy was built on, it was built on the backs of black and brown people. She wore a crown with pillaged stones from India and Africa. And now what you're seeing, at least in the black communities that I'm a part of, they want reparations.
All right, guys, so as you probably heard by now, the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, has passed away. And of course, there's a whole lot of opinions. Everybody got an opinion about this subject. And I want to talk about Black Twitter, whom is on fire celebrating Queen Elizabeth's death. Something that I find to be absolutely reprehensible. And the reason why is because regardless of how you feel about major political figures, that is somebody's relative, that is somebody's family member, and mocking / celebrating their death, I don't think makes you the bigger person. Okay, I understand the arguments from some of these people in regards to England's history of colonization and the role that the monarch played in that. However, when it comes to black Americans specifically, I really don't understand a whole lot of the outrage, okay? I kind of get it for people who live in the Commonwealth countries, like a lot of these countries in Africa, Australia, India, Canada, whatever. I can understand if you have certain feelings, because at the very least, what happened at the very least during some people's lifetimes, okay? So with that being said, I still think regardless, it is inappropriate to mock or try to celebrate somebody's death. I think the time to reflect on these historical figures probably is not right after they die. I think you should take some time and understand that this person has a family who were not involved in any of that stuff, that care about their relative, that is sad and that's mourning their relative. I think you should take the time to do that. However, that means that you have to be a decent person. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of decent people on the left in this country anymore, because those are most of the people who are mocking the Queen of England's death. I think everybody else is either indifferent about it or they're like, okay, I'm sad. Me personally, I'm indifferent, okay, because I really don't have strong feelings about this, and I really don't think black Americans should have that strong of feelings about this. And I'm going to tell you guys why. It's a controversial opinion, but it's my opinion. But before I get into that, I want to basically go over some of these tweets here so you guys can get an understanding of some of the more tame reactions from Black Twitter, because we're going to talk about a reaction that I think is really, really, really disgusting and in bad taste. So we have one tweet here, a meme of Queen Elizabeth II in her grave and the black diaspora celebrating over her grave, okay, basically celebrating her death. Then you have people like Jamel Hill, who chimed in and said that journalists are tasked with putting legacies into full context, so it is entirely appropriate to examine the Queen and her role in the devastating impact of continual colonialism. Yeah, so what she means here is that it's totally fine to mock the Queen's death, and you shouldn't criticize people who are mocking the Queen's death. Okay, that's what she's saying. Okay, and we have another person here, Ebony Elizabeth Thomas, says, telling the colonized how they should feel about the colonizers' health and wellness is like telling my people that we ought to worship the Confederacy. Quote, respect the dead, when we're all writing these tweets in English. How that happened? We just chose this language. Eugene Scott says, real question for the quote, now is not the appropriate time to talk about the negative impact of colonialism crowd. Where is the appropriate time to talk about the negative impact of colonialism? Well, look, here's the thing, man. My opinion is this. You're free to talk about it whatever you want, but I just find it fascinating how everybody wants to jump on this train when the Queen dies, okay? And it's not just people talking about the negative impact of colonialism. It's that they're taking it a step further in celebrating, mocking the Queen's death, and in some cases, hoping that the Queen's death was an excruciating pain, right? Which is what a woke professor wished on Queen Elizabeth that was condemned by Jeff Bezos, right? Even Jeff Bezos had to come out and be like, yo, that's a little bit too far, man, right? That's a little bit too far. But I really want to talk about this because this conversation right here really reveals the woke revolutionaries' main issue with white people, which stems from European colonialism. They are simply mad that the Europeans were better and more successful at doing what a whole bunch of other empires in history have attempted to do. They're just mad because a group of people who happen to be white were the best at it, right? So they get so upset about it, right? It drives them insane. It drives them nuts. And this is how you get tweets like this. So let's read about this. Twitter deleted a Thursday tweet from a university professor wishing Queen Elizabeth II in her final moments on the throne, quote, excruciating pain, a tweet that was condemned by Amazon founder and Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos. Quote, I heard the chief monarch of a thieving, genocidal empire is finally dying. May her pain be excruciating, tweeted Carnegie Mellon University professor Uju Anya. Anya specializes in, quote, critical applied linguistics, critical social linguistics, and critical discourse studies, examining race, gender, sexual, and social class identities in new language learning through the multilingual journeys of African American students, according to her bio in CMU's website. The tweet drew a barrage of outrage and was eventually removed for violating Twitter's rules. I'm actually very surprised that Twitter removed that tweet. I am very, very surprised that they removed the tweet. Okay, they usually don't go after people like this, if they, have a vagina and are a so-called woman of color. Mediaite reached out to Twitter for comment. Before the tweet was removed, it earned a rebuke from one of the world's richest people. Quote, this is someone supposedly working to make the world better. I don't think so. Wow, Bezos tweeted. Right? So Bezos is saying what everybody basically thinks about these woke revolutionaries, these woke academics. You guys aren't really working to make the world better. What you're actually really doing is you're working to divide the world even more. Okay? And you use your saltiness about what happened in the past. A lot of stuff that happened in the past, these people never experienced. And to be quite honest, ultimately benefited from. And I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. They use that as the excuse to try to divide everybody, right? To spew hatred towards people. Okay? And it's just no excuse for that. Yeah, you have the freedom of speech to say what you want to say. If you want to mock the Queen's death, mock the Queen's death. But that doesn't mean that it's in good taste, right? It doesn't mean that it's right. So this woke professor doubles down. She says, Otoro Gumbu Juji, well, I don't know what that means. May everyone you and your merciless greed have harmed in this world remember you as fondly as I remember my colonizers. Now listen, here's the thing. I'm not the biggest Jeff Bezos fan in regards to his business practices. I definitely understand that Amazon has destroyed a lot of small businesses in this country, mom and pop shops. However, I think objectively speaking, Jeff Bezos has been a net positive on the world in regards to his contributions in making people's lives better and easier and more efficient. Okay, again, I think his legacy is mixed, just like the legacy of all major historical political figures, okay, or big tech figures, business leaders. You're not going to find one major historical figure that has not done something that we can say is wrong, okay? I'm just saying. But I guarantee you, somebody like Jeff Bezos and his lasting legacy, let's say 100, 200 years in the future, people are still going to remember Bezos. Nobody remember this woke professor. What did she contribute to the world outside of hate and division? Right? One thing I can say about Jeff Bezos, he's not bringing hate and division to the world like this woke professor is. I'm just saying. Regardless how you feel about him, he ain't out here trying to divide people. Carnegie Mellon actually distanced themselves from this woke professor statement by basically saying that, look, we don't, condone that. We think, it's wrong, blah, blah, blah. She says, quote, if anyone expects me to express anything but disdain for the monarch who supervised a government that sponsored a genocide that massacred and displaced half my family and the consequences of which those alive today are trying to overcome, you can keep wishing upon a star. All right, fine. You can feel that way. That's totally fine. Feel that way. I still think you're going a little bit too far, wishing the woman a painful and excruciating death, okay? That's a reason why, even when it comes to people that's, on death row, right, the death penalty, when we kill them, we don't torture them, right? We don't torture them. We don't make their deaths as excruciating as possible, right? We try to get it over with quickly, okay? That's what we try to do, because it's not right to wish that on people or to even do that to people in real life, even if they were bad people, okay? I'm just saying, it's basic decency. as a human. That's what makes you better than the bad folks, right? That you're not like them. But if you be just like them, then you're not any better than them. You're not better than them. So this is the tweet right here that really got me, right? Because you all knew this was coming. And this tweet right here comes from Lindsay Boylan, who looks to be a white liberal, right? A white liberal woman, a progressive, fighting for women. She has she/her pronouns. So you know what's up. You know what's up. You know what's coming here. The woke white virtue signal. The richest man on the planet and possibly in history zeroed in on a black woman professor because he felt her anger and her words were not acceptable and he felt he was the right person to put her in her place. Says quite a lot. Quote, he had to put her in her place. It's so gross. It's so basic. And it's so basic that it's gross. Wow. This right here is what you call a reach, guys. This is a reach. Essentially, her argument is that Jeff Bezos, when he thought about what this woman was saying, what went through his mind is that this is a black woman. Therefore, I'm going to respond to her. I'm going to single her out and I'm going to put her in her place because she's black. I'm not going to respond just because she said something that I found to be disgusting. I'm going to respond because she's black. I specifically want to put a black woman in her place. Bruh, again, the things that these people come up with, I don't understand where they get it from, right? These are really some far out there conspiracies, okay? I'm just saying. But the point here that I really want to make in this video, the last thing I want to say, is that I don't understand black Americans who are so triggered by the Queen and European colonialism. I really don't get it, right? Now, I get why some people who are from Africa or India or some of these places that actually really were under British rule, okay, that is directly connected by this stuff. It happened in their lifetimes. I get it. I understand why you're upset. I still think it's bad taste to wish excruciating death on somebody like that, but I understand why you're upset, right? I get it. However, when it comes to black people, actual black Americans, I don't understand because as a black American, I am not convinced that my life would be better, right, if it wasn't for European colonialism, okay? I'm not convinced. Because I don't think that without European colonialism, Africa would have been Wakanda, which is where my ancestors are from, presumably, right? So my ancestors were never moved from Africa or forcibly removed from Africa because Africans enslaved my ancestors, presumably, or Europeans, they just snatched them up. But, they sold them to the white man for the most part and brought them to the Americas. If that didn't happen, would my life be better? The only way my life would be better is if Africa would become Wakanda without European colonialism, which is what some of these woke revolutionaries believe. I personally am not convinced. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm not convinced, right? I'm not sure if Africa will be much better off without European colonialism. Because despite what the woke revolutionaries say, there are good things about European colonialism, okay? Again, basically everything that we have in regards to technology, society, our culture, all that stuff. It is a byproduct of European colonialism. I don't think it was overall a net negative. I think it was overall a net positive. Yes, there was bloodshed, right? But that's history, bro. It's going to be bloodshed. Not saying that is right. Not saying I condone all of it. Obviously, slavery was bad. But I'm just saying, I've thought about this, right? Nobody has told me, some woke professor has not told me how I should feel about this. I, as a black person, have thought about this, and I've said, look, after critically thinking about this, I'm not sure, for me personally, right, if my life would be better if I was still in Africa. I don't think it would be. And I believe that because the fact that my ancestors were enslaved in the first place, whether it be captured by the white man or most likely enslaved by other Africans and sold to the white man, tells me that my tribe was probably getting dominated, bro. My tribe in Africa, hey, we was getting our butts whooped. Okay, we got enslaved, which means we was at the bottom of the totem pole, which suggests that fast forward to today, hey, I would most likely be born in some part of society in Africa that's not very well off, right? So I'm just saying, I've critically thought about this, and I'm not convinced, for me personally, that European colonialism was a net negative, right, for people like me. I'm just saying, okay? Yes, I know slavery, all that stuff we had to go through to get here, but I'm just saying, in the long run, I don't think that it was a net negative. Now, again, I can't really speak for people who are directly from Africa, India, some of these places that have been directly affected. I'm just saying, as a black American, right? If you're black, I challenge you to critically think about this issue and to ask yourself, would your life be better if European colonialism didn't happen? If you were born in Africa today without European colonialism, would it be Wakanda? Right? I'm not convinced that it would be. I'm just saying, do you believe the things you believe? Are you mad and are you upset because you actually critically thought about the Queen, right, and the effects of European colonialism in regards to your life, right? Or are you just mad and upset because some woke professor or some woke revolutionary on Twitter told you that you're supposed to be mad and upset? Most of these people are mad and upset not because they really know anything about this. It's because they've been told they should be mad and upset. Okay? But hey, it's their freedom of speech to be mad and upset. That's them. However, their freedom of speech is really revealing that some of these people who claim to be on the right side of history, that claim to be fighting against hate, they're some of the most hateful people on this planet. They're not any better than the people that they condemn, right? This woman has shown us with this tweet, wishing excruciating pain on Queen Elizabeth as she dies, is suggesting that she's no better than the Queen. You're not any better than her as a person. In fact, you might be worse because you're essentially wishing for her to be tortured to death. Again, freedom of speech is great for multiple reasons. One of the reasons that it really does reveal who a lot of these people are at their core and their character. And it really shows that, again, these people who claim to be fighting against hate and claim to be on the right side of history, they're not fighting against hate. They're actually putting out the most hate in the world. And they're not on the right side of history, right? They're not. Because this woman with her tweet has proved from a character perspective, she's no better than Queen Elizabeth. She's no better than the people that she claims are the worst people in the world. You're right there with her, right? You're right there with her with that tweet. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.